Hey, Autumn Athletes, Larry Sorensen here, and today I'm going to talk with Angela Herzner and find out what makes her an Autumn Athlete that's not done yet. Before we get started, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. All right, let's get this thing started. Angela, thanks so much for joining us today. Why don't you kick us off with an introduction?
Hi, I'm Angela Herzner. I'm 51 years old. I live in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm originally from East Greenwich, Rhode Island. I have two daughters, 12 and almost 14. I have a fiance. Right now, I'm currently a firefighter with the city of Phoenix, and I've got a little less than 3 years left, and I'm very excited about being able to retire soon.
Well, great to meet you. Well, you got a lot going on here as a master's athlete, and we're going to get to that shortly. But first, we want to get a little history on you. So, tell us about your, athletic career going back to high school and maybe adulthood all the way up until you started this master's track and field thing.
So I started in gymnastics. That was my sport from 9 to probably around 14 when I had a growth spurt. And at that point, I got a little too tall. I had the high school track coach approach me as a freshman and say, if I ever quit gymnastics, to please come out for the track team, because he had heard that I was fast, which I don't know who told him that. My PE teacher did, but I've never been fast. But anyways, when I quit, when I was a sophomore in high school, I went out for the track and field team, and they started me in hurdles, high jump, long jump. And that year I did my first pentathlon, and I lost it because I didn't know how to throw the shot. So the next year I did the same events, but then they had me try the shot, but practice it a little bit more. And I won that year because I could actually figure out how to throw it. And then again, my senior year was kind of the same thing. I was doing hurdles, high jump, shot. I think they threw me in discus just for points. It was mainly, as a combined event athlete. And so I got recruited to attend the University of Rhode Island on a full scholarship as a heptathlete. And so I competed in the heptathlon, the pentathlon, and the more I kept throwing shot, the more they realized that shot was my best event. So I did a lot of open shot. And so I had a lot of success in Rhode Island. I won a few New England championships, qualified for the ECACs. And they didn't have the NCAA regionals back then, but had pretty good success. And once I graduated college, I stayed in Rhode Island. I was a health and PE teacher for a year and a half, and I coached high school. And I wanted to continue competing in track and field because it truly was my passion and my love. And I did some local open meets and high jump and hurdles and shot. And I remember running into my college coach at one of the meets, and he had asked me why I was still competing. And he was just like, well, if you're not going to train hard and be serious, why are you doing it? And he made a good point. It was kind of like, I was doing it because it was fun, but it kind of put a little fire under me too, to try to do something a little bit more. And right after he said that, I got a coaching job at the University of Richmond. So I went down there and I coached the throwers and pole vaulters. After, I think, my second year of coaching, I was able to train separately from the kids. I wouldn't usually throw during their practice, but the coaches let me compete in some of the meets. So I was coaching and competing. And my goal was to qualify for the Olympic trials in 2004. And so I didn't have a coach at the time, but I would record myself throwing, and I'd watch my technique and just kind of coach myself. And I managed to have a great year. The indoor championships in 2003, I believe it was, I finished fourth that year. And then that's where it started climbing. And the following year, I did qualify for the Olympic trials. I had a personal best of 1672 meters, which is roughly 55 feet. And so I went to the Olympic trials in 2004. Rightfully so, I got a little nervous and I didn't perform very well, but it was an amazing experience. And from there, I moved out to Arizona. And at that point, I was just trying to figure out my life. So I went into personal training. I stopped competing. I was just trying to figure out who I was. I'm in this new place, didn't have any friends. And I got into competing in figure and fitness competitions just because I needed something to compete in. I needed a goal. Like I don't do very well just kind of going through life without finding something to compete in. So I did that. Meanwhile, while I was at the gym, I met some Phoenix firefighters who were saying that they were getting ready to hire. And if it was something I was interested in, that I should, look into it. And of course, I'd never thought about it before. But I did some research, and, it took about 1.5 years to get through everything I needed to. And I got hired with the fire department. I found my now ex-husband, had my kids, and around 40, I kept having people say, you know what, you need to get back out to Masters track and field. The World Police and Fire Games are coming to Virginia. You should come back out and compete. And I was thinking, okay, I could go back to Virginia. I can see some of the people that I was there. I found a few places to practice, but most of the time I was just kind of trying to stay in shape and then go to the meets and compete and see. And so I started back up with long jump and high jump, and of course shot. And that's all I did. And then every year people like, you need to do more. You need to throw the discus. You need to learn the hammer. You need to learn this and that. So 40 was when I came back out, but I didn't start competing at the USATF Nationals until 2017, which, so I guess I was like 43.
I want you to take a minute and brag a little bit, because we want to know about all your successes. So give us kind of a highlight reel of, records, championships, distances, times, what have you.
Since I started with USATF in 2017, I've got, 24 American records. And then this year was the first time I was able to break 2 world records, which super excited about, because, the gal that had the records prior to me is just an amazing thrower. So this year, well, I guess last year I turned 50, and I looked forward to the implements dropping. And so while I was in my 40 to 49, my PRs in the 4K shot as a master's, 1464 in the shot. I went 4224 in the discus, 4974 in the hammer. And let's see what other events. I'm not sure on the point total for the throws pen or the ultraweight pen. But again, a lot of those events were just, they were new to me because I hadn't done any of that stuff. My first year of the throws pentathlon was in 2017, and I knew how to coach the hammer, but I had actually never thrown it. And so I didn't do very well because I didn't know how to throw the hammer or the weight throw. And so at that point, that's when I got a coach. I found Dave Bickel out here in Arizona, and he helped coach myself and another girl and a few other people, and just, taught me how to throw the hammer and the weight, and convinced me to do the ultraweight pentathlon. And that was kind of interesting. The ultraweight, that's a totally different beast. So it's your weight throw, and then you have the superweight throw, and then there's 3 heavier weights after that. So in the 40 to 49, the weights were 20, the 20 pound, 35, 44, 56, and 98. Wow. And so now that I've turned 50, my weights are the 16, the 25, 35, 44, and 56. And I thought it was completely a silly event. I'm like, who would ever do this? And of course, as soon as I tried it, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. I get why people do this. It's pretty fun and silly at the same time. But so far in the 50 age group, my PRs for the shot is 1440, and the hammer, which is the world record, is 55:57. I don't think discus is anything really to brag about just yet. I didn't exactly have the best discus year. My weight throw was just under 17 meters. And my throws pentathlon score, 40.88. And I think the ultraweight pent score was 49.25 or something a little bit higher than, I'm not exactly sure.
Walk us through what you do for training, and, if it's different on season, off season, how you go about that. What do you do for cross training? Just fill us in on your overall fitness regimen.
In season, I'll try to throw 3 days a week, and I do about 30 throws, and that's with all the different implements. So, if I want to throw hammer, discus, and shot in one day, then I may take 10 throws of each, or I may do some heavy implements, some light implements, but I try to use 30 as the maximum number of throws, so I don't do too much. But so I would do about 30 throws of training, and then I would go lift. I've kind of split up my program a bunch of different ways. Sometimes I'll do an upper body one day, lower body the next day. and then take a day off, and then another upper body, lower body day off. I've done that. And then occasionally I'll come back and do an upper body, lower body off day, and then do a full body, and then a day of just throwing. I've had to adjust it as I've gotten older, just because I can't handle the amount of input that I've been used to giving myself. I've had to plan extra days off. But typically I try to get 3 days of lifting in, 3 days of throwing. And a lot of that, it's not consistent from week to week because I work 24-hour shifts. So I'm on for 24 hours and I have 48 hours off. So I throw on my off days. And then my lifting, the good thing is I can lift at the fire station. We have all the equipment and everything. And so it just really depends on if I'm at work or if I'm at home. But yeah, in season, that's kind of how it goes. Off season, I enjoy kind of doing whatever I want. Like I like having a routine and structure, but sometimes I get so tired of doing the same stuff. Even when I switch it up, it's kind of the same program. And so right now I'm doing circuits Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I'm doing some cardio Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and take Sunday off. But right now, like the circuits are probably 15 to 20 minutes, and it's just to keep my heart rate up. The biggest thing is I need to have good conditioning for my job, because I don't want to go into a house fire and, be so out of shape that I can't handle what I need to do in there. And I don't want to be a liability, and I don't want anything to happen because my conditioning is not where it should be. So it's a huge motivation to get myself into that cardio shape that I can't quite do in season, because I've got to lift and I've got to throw, but I have to maintain that heart health just with some of the HIIT workouts and everything. And I just don't get as much during the season as I want. So I kind of take advantage of this time of year to really just get in that good conditioning.
When you're in more of the conditioning mode, you talk a lot about routines. And do you ever just go, like steady state stuff, go jog for an hour, that type of stuff? Or is it all kind of more like full body routines?
So today it was 20 minutes, and I did jump rope, the assault bike, row machine, push-ups, squats, and glute hams. So I pick a bunch of different exercises, and I just keep my heart rate going for 20 minutes. But now when I go to do cardio tomorrow, it's going to be 30 minutes, and it's kind of just a steady state. And that's what I'm doing for right now. I'm trying to have a good mix of keeping my heart rate elevated, but then also doing it where it's a little bit lower for a longer period of time. There will be times where I do, I'll go back to the sprinting. So I'll do sprints and then I take the recovery, or I'll just, if I need a break from running on the track, then I may do on the assault bike, 30 seconds really hard and then a minute and a half rest. So kind of interval trainings, but it's just a good mix up. And it's one of those things where I don't have to do something specific. I can kind of do what I want.
How do you balance that, being ready for competition, but also being ready for what you need to do in your job? And then just kind of tell us a little bit more about the fire department. You mentioned a little bit how you got started, just kind of whatever you'd like to tell us about being a firefighter.
When I'm on shift, I do my lifting or I do my conditioning, but I also make sure I always have just a little bit left in the tank, because if we do get something that's high intensity, you've got your adrenaline, which takes over, of course, but I want to make sure, especially as I've gotten a little bit older, it's a little bit harder to last longer. I need to be able to make sure that I do everything I need to for that incident, which is why sometimes I'll adjust my workouts, because if I need to move my heavy lifting days to when I get off shift, then I'll do that, and I'll do something a little bit easier on shift. And that's definitely changed, like I said, as I've gotten older. But every Sunday that we work, we'll go out and it's called a skills course, and it kind of mimics all the potential things you'd have to do in a fire. So, we'll hit a log with an axe, and then we use a sledgehammer for a tire, and then we push the sled and we pull a tire. And so we do a bunch of different activities that kind of mimic a fire scenario. And we do that as a group. And I always do that with the guys and everything. And then we typically go to Saturdays will be stairs. So we'll wear all our gear and our bottles and, a few other things. We'll go up and down stairs for a few times, which again is always fun to be involved with the guys to do something like that, because a lot of times I am kind of doing my own program. But, I will say, so I'm 17 and a half years in. I can retire in about 2.5 more years. I've been very fortunate to have just great crews that I work with. And, we have a good time. When you go to work, we are showing up to people when they're having their worst day. And it's nice when you have a group of people that work together to really try to make this person have a better day.
How much does the full gear weigh when you are going into an inferno? Like you're fully decked out with everything.
75 pounds. Once you have your gear on, plus it's called the SCBA. That's our air pack.
Yeah.
I want to say it's about 75 pounds. And that's just that. That's not if you have to carry it, hose, and tools and all the other stuff.
Do you have any interesting anecdotes as far as, a situation during a fire call?
No, because I think honestly, we get some of the best training, and it prepares us for anything and everything that's going to be thrown our way. And then even if something goes a little sideways, you have a good crew that, you work things out. It's, problem solving, so to speak, to get through that. And then we also have a lot of resources right now that when we do have those tough calls, they reach out right after the call and see if we need a little bit of time off, if we need some counseling, if just anything like that. There's a lot of resources that we have, which has only gotten better throughout my career. And it's because they're really thinking about our well-being, because, we see things that a lot of people don't ever see in their lifetime. And so, again, it's just such a great thing that I'm involved in right now.
So we've talked about the physical side of things. How do you fuel yourself? Tell us about how you eat.
I'm kind of one of those somewhat neurotic people. I've been counting macros for years. And I always get asked, like, how do you do that? How do you not go crazy or why? And the why is, for me, I like to know if I'm putting in enough of the right foods and not overeating. And for so long, it just, it was one of those things I would just kind of eat and I wouldn't have energy. And then once I started weighing my food and counting, then it just gave me a better idea of how much I was actually eating. Now it's a matter of just making sure I get the proper nutrients in. And I'm not always it's not 24/7. Like, I don't do it all the time. I do it most of the time, but every now and again, I just, of course, give myself a break where it's like, you know what? I don't feel like tracking my macros today. I'm just going to enjoy today. And don't get me wrong. Like, there are days where I have, I hate using the term cheat meal, but I have a fun meal. Yeah. And I just kind of guesstimate. I'm not a restaurant and break out a food scale and start weighing stuff, but I guesstimate stuff just so I at least have an idea. Like, what you went over probably about an extra 500 calories today. Not a big deal, because it's really about overall for the entire week. Did you have a good week of eating? If you're feeling, if I'm feeling a little lethargic, okay, maybe I need to change something up, or, I just feel better when I know how much I'm putting in.
Do you ever experiment with like intermittent fasting, those types of things?
I can't, because I love eating. And if I wait too long, I am literally one of those hangry people. Like, you don't want to be around me when I'm hungry, because I really do get moody. I don't necessarily eat when I first wake up. I'll do, coffee in the morning. And then I eat fairly, like, a little something right after that, because then I get my workout in, and then I'll do my protein shake after my workout, and then I'll have a lunch, and then I have something around 3:00 as a quote unquote snack or a meal, whatever you want to say. And then I eat around 6:00. Like, it's just, it's kind of like clockwork. I'm not exactly, on my off days, I don't say, oh, it's 3:00, I better eat something. But it seems to be, I have about 5 meals throughout the day, and it just keeps my energy levels going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I would be okay with that.
Okay. So since you are tracking your macros and so forth, what is your main protein source? Are you a plant eater, meat eater, supplement person? How do you get the protein levels that you want?
I do a lot of chicken, ground turkey. I try to get fish in once a week. It doesn't always work that way, but it's, between salmon, between cod, shrimp. I love red meat. So I'll have ground beef or steak at least 3 times a week, probably. Chicken's the main thing. And then, the ground turkey, just because it's easy and it's quick. But those are kind of my main things. I do have usually one protein shake a day.
We're going to get back to athletics a little bit here. So you had a great year last year. What's on the horizon? Are you chasing specific records, distances, preparing for specific meets? Tell us what's in your future.
There's not a lot on the calendar, first of all, but I know for sure I want to do indoor nationals in Albuquerque. And my goal is going to be, I want to get the American record in the weight throw. And then if I can better my American record in the super weight and the shot put, that would be fantastic. I got to figure out, I don't want to say my future in pole vault. I got to figure out if I'm going to add pole vault again, or if I'm going to take a break from pole vault, if I'm going to do indoor heptathlon. It kind of just depends on how the off season goes training wise, and then where some of the meets fall. My kids are in competitive gymnastics and cheer, and their season is during indoor season. So they've got meets in California, Vegas, Nashville, all like from January till April. So weekends are pretty busy with their stuff. So it's kind of hard to balance that. But so after indoor nationals, definitely looking at outdoor nationals. The shot put record outdoor, I'm still going to be going after. And then, of course, if I can better my world records, that would be fantastic. Better the American record in the ultraweight pentathlon. I'm one of those people that I love to chase records. And so if I don't have that record, I'm going to go after it. And if I have that record, I'm going to try to better it, because there's people below me that are going to come right up, and, I want to make it hard for them to break it.
Speaking of future, I mean, we're chatting here in August of 2025. You got something else coming up pretty big in your near future. What's happening there?
I do. I have my wedding. I'm getting married on December 7th of this year to Dave DeKell. He's a master's thrower. It's going to be just, nice and relaxed. And we're going to have our closest friends. And
so I assume that you met at a track and field meet somewhere?
Yeah, we were friends. I met him out here at a few meets. He was officiating. And again, he became my coach a couple of years. Let's see, 2017, I think, is when I asked for some coaching. And so, we just became good friends. And then both our lives changed a couple of years ago with our former spouses and everything. And then about 2 years ago, we just kind of tried to see if there was more to our friendship. And there was. And awesome. Here we are, very happy.
You're 51, you're doing all these things, looking forward to firefighting, retirement, and all this fun stuff that you have going on. Mm-hmm. Why are you pushing? What's the motivation to keep driving?
I love what I do. I really enjoy working out. I love setting goals and trying to accomplish them. I feel like if you don't have something to shoot for, it's a lot harder to motivate yourself to do anything. And so it doesn't have to be, I always tell people it doesn't have to be something big. If you just have these little goals along the way that could lead to something bigger, or they're just smaller goals. For me, I know if I didn't have that goal, I would just kind of be going through the motions of working out. And so even right now, even though, we're, 6 months away from indoor nationals, I'm not even thinking about throwing or any of that stuff. I'm just actually having fun doing something totally different. And even though I don't have a goal right now, I know what my goal is going to be here in a few months. So right now I'm just trying to have fun and, again, just do something different with my workouts. And I don't know, it's kind of nice to be in the gym for only an hour instead of having a 2.5 hour workout.
Well, Angela, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you coming on and telling us what makes you an autumn athlete that's not done yet. I want to wrap up by giving you the floor to just kind of give us some final thoughts.
Thank you. I appreciate you asking me to be on this episode. I hope I gave everyone a little bit of inside info and just what drives me to do everything I do in life.
Well, there you go, folks. Angela Herzner. She is definitely an autumn athlete that's not done yet. Remember, keep moving, set your own goals, and train hard to achieve them. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.